Hello and welcome to Australia for round 2 of the 2022 Formula Virtual World Championship. My name is Bradley Downton and I'm joined today by Harry Westwood.
Good day mate, shrimp on the barbie.
Today then the drivers will tackle 70 laps of the Adelaide Street Circuit as Formula Virtual breaks new ground, venturing onto an official street circuit for the first time in the series history. In Australia, previously we've been at Albert Park. Enrico Ruiz and Matt Shaw have been dominant. Will they be again today? Let's take a look through the grid then, and it's his teammate Adrian Simon who lines up on pole position. Ruiz was undone slightly in qualifying. He starts alongside on the front row, however. Nathaniel Powers goes from third, just out qualifying former teammate Klaas van Snelheid by 1,000th of a second and knocking the lead down to 4. James Vazquez, an outstanding effort from the Colombian. He starts from 5th ahead of the second Downton Matteo Zetici. A lot of work to do to replicate his win from last time out. Maximilian Thunstrom was disappointed with 7th. Will Taylor, brilliant again, ahead of Alar Kanga. He starts from 8th. Puccio Giordano lines up 9th in the first of the Ocelots, and Kanga himself in the second of the Phoenix cars rounds out the top 10. John Matson was just outside in the second of the Ingrams, some way behind his teammate Nick Addison. A brilliant qualifying for Arrow. He starts alongside on row 6. North Star back with a vengeance after Johan Halverson was unfortunately knocked out in pre-qualifying last time out. Kidd and Halverson start alongside one another on row 7. Finn Schneider is the only AMR in the race, as Ollie unfortunately not making it through pre-qualifying here in Australia. He starts 15th, just ahead of Stefan Klein, who stepped up from Japan when he was towards the back. Jules Barkley is the first of the Westwood cars. He goes from 14th, just ahead of Thierry Zylander, who makes the race yet again for High Wind. Another outstanding effort from the Belgian. Will Hoskins is 19th, just ahead of Max Meyer in the Lopez, who rounds out the top 20. Danilo Ferrini starts 21st, and then we hit the guys who had issues in qualifying then. Yukimi Takahashi starts from 22nd after just the one run, as did all the drivers behind him. Sergio Alvarez will go from 23rd, just ahead of Timo Kinnaman in the second of the Westwoods. And on the back row we've got Felix Perez, and unfortunately here at home, Hunter Ryan. So as we go down to the grid then, it's Adrian Simon in pole position. Teammate Enrico Ruiz lines up alongside. The lights go out now and we're racing in Australia then. It looks like a decent getaway initially from Adrian Simon, but Ruiz coming back as they head towards the first corner. Simon sweeps around the outside though, and the Frenchman does indeed hold the lead from Ruiz. Behind them, Klaas van Snelheid is going wheel to wheel with Powers, but has to back out of it. So Powers holds third then. Up the inside of van Snelheid though. James Vazquez, the Colombian, from 5th on the grid, is up to P4 ahead of the Dutchman, and that is not the start down and one bit for van Snelheid. Fighting back now, round the outside. Can he take this back? Klaas van Snelheid and James Vazquez absolutely wheel to wheel still. Look at the time they've lost already to the leaders, and no he can't. It is Vazquez into P4.
Yep, secured that coming onto Bartels Road here as they round that seriously fast right-hander coming into the end of the straight. That's fantastic.
Oh, look at this, Klaas van Snelheid up the inside, and Zetici into the back of Vazquez, and there's contact. Matteo Zetici is hit James Vazquez then, and both of them have lost a few positions there. It's allowed Van Snelheid through and clear into P4. Will Taylor now up into 5th, and has Zetici picked up any damage from that? It was a hefty whack to the left-hand side of the front wing.
Certainly was. He had Zetici getting a bit too close to comfort there, up behind him, and yeah, not an ideal result out of that for the Colombian, is it? Yeah.
Vazquez is Colombian, yeah.
Yeah. Well, not an ideal result for either of them really, but yeah, bit of a shame to see that early doors.
Absolutely. It looks as though both have continued on, as there we see Zylander and Schneider wheel to wheel, and here we go. This is a replay on board with Zetici as you see them get locked together. Taylor did beautifully to just sort of nip through and take advantage of that, didn't he?
Yeah, he seemed to be the man to find his way through on lap 1. If you remember last race, he made up quite a few places on the first lap at Fuji, and he had quite a clean race as well. So
yeah,
maybe he's looking to repeat that here.
We're only 2 races into his career, but that sort of seems to be Will Taylor's superpower at the moment, is finding gaps on lap 1.
It's certainly not a bad superpower there, Bradley, as look at these three, nose to tail, come through the final corner as they start lap 3.
Absolutely, a little bit wide there from Nathaniel Powers, and it looks as though he's just dropping back a touch from the two Mathew Porsches, who will be absolutely fine with this then. Their 2 cars easing away into the distance, and Klaas van Snelheid is closing that gap down though. It's
got a Lopez in the pits there.
We do indeed. That's Max Meyer.
Oh dear, so something's gone very wrong for the South African there. It looks like a lack of a front wing to me.
That's certainly going to be an issue, yes. But yeah, just up front then, the Van Schnellheid looks as though he's slightly closing back in on these guys. The gap's coming down, but that's Ruiz. Ruiz for the lead of the race then dives to the inside of his teammate. Adrian Simon gives him all the room and some. He might as well have sent him an invitation there. The gap was that wide on the inside. Ruiz has walked through it, and the Brazilian now leads the race.
Sure, Bradley, I reckon after some events in the past, when Rob and Arthur Lapierre saw... Is it Arthur or Arthur? I always forget.
I think it's Arthur.
As they saw that front row lockout, they just had a little bit of a pre-race briefing saying, look, behave out there. I'd rather you don't battle and you just make the finish, because these two do have a proven track record.
Absolutely. And to be fair, that's probably the most sensible thing for the team. Ruiz is on a softer compound of tyre here, and you can see he's already putting that to good use. Roaring away, he's a second clear of his teammate already, as now Nathaniel Powers lines up Adrian Simon for P2. Behind them, Van Schnellheid, that gap was 2.8 seconds at the end of lap 1. It's down to 1.1. Van Schnellheid absolutely reeling these guys in rapidly.
Yeah, he's definitely doing some good lap times there in his Downton. Yeah, he's visibly closer now. Look at that.
Oh, that's Vasquez, sorry. Vasquez up the inside of Will Taylor then to take back 5th position. The Colombian is looking to recover from that earlier incident with Zatici. He didn't lose out too much, but yeah, did fall behind Taylor, and Vasquez now got himself back into some clear air as Zatici still struggling to get past Lundstrom. As here we go, this is a replay of Mayer, and
just hit the wall.
That was clumsy as anything.
Yeah, and you know, considering they're at the team boss's home race, he will not be pleased with that.
He won't, no, especially with Alvarez down in 22nd and not really making up any ground off of the start.
Yeah, it seems that at least while overtaking certainly isn't a premium here, you do need to have quite a substantial speed differential to make it work.
Yeah, very much. Sorry, I thought you were going to add something else to that. But yeah, no, absolutely.
I can.
As at the front of this little train, I was going to say little train then, but actually this seems to be essentially everyone from Will Taylor in 6th backwards. That's quite a queue of cars, isn't it?
Yeah, and here we see the leader of said queue, I believe. Well, a leader of a queue. He's breaking off a little bit there.
Yeah, that's the second queue.
Yeah, that's Thierry Zylander there, putting another stellar performance. Gets his car into the race again, and qualified well, just behind, I believe, Jules Barkley, who's down in 20th. Whereas one's gone backwards, Zylander has gone forwards, and so far, looking steady.
Yeah, very much so. Back up front, Ruiz, having initially broken away on those soft tyres from his teammate, hasn't really gone any further, has he? He'd got that gap up to a second, but hasn't put anything else between himself and his teammate. Likewise behind them, Van Schnellheid seems to have stopped closing in. Powers seems sort of unable to really pressure Adrian Simon at the moment.
Yeah, it's almost like those soft tyres are already starting to overheat, and it's almost like they've already given their best, Bradley, I think. Although I would say that, then again, as you said, Powers isn't really struggling relative to his fellow soft tyre competitors, so I don't really know what's going on here. Which is always a good thing for a commentator to say.
Well, yeah. I wonder if they're looking at this and going, do you know what? It's a 70-lap race, and I know it's a quick lap, but it probably makes sense to just settle in at this point, doesn't it? Kind of get your bearings, make sure you're. Get your bearings. Obviously, they're all going to know the track layout. They should all know the track layout by this point, despite the fact this is the first time we've been here. But
yes,
yeah, just sort of embed themselves into the race.
Yeah, definitely. Sort of exactly what you said. I was going to try and add to it. You kind of summed it up perfectly. Just get yourself nice and comfortable so that you can, there's been some limit testing with the cars early on. They know roughly where the pace is. Make sure they're comfortable with the balance. Make sure they can get through the race, and then start looking to attack later on. Absolutely. Looking back from Klaas Van Schnellheid, James Vasquez, it's a 5-second gap now then between the two, between 4th and 5th. So this top 4 already with you've got to say, a fairly significant advantage. Yeah, there's a handy buffer there.
It certainly is, and that's a buffer that you'd imagine will only grow because the top 3 teams do seem to have somewhat of an advantage pace-wise, and that could put them in really good stead by the time we get to the pit stop strategies.
Yeah, and obviously that's going to have Thunstrom and Satichi very frustrated because they'll know they could have been up here today, or at least there or thereabouts, having a little look around, seeing if they could get their nose in for that kind of result. Especially since both of them, obviously Satichi won last time out, Thunstrom on the podium as well.
Yeah. Well, and Thunstrom especially, because I believe the Swede is on... Oh, no, he's on... No, Thunstrom... Ah, there we go. So we see it on screen. Thunstrom's on the mediums. So I think the information that we've got for the two Lucas cars is the wrong way round then.
Yeah.
So the info we have was that Powers was on mediums, Thunstrom on the softs, but actually it appears that Powers is on the softs, and Thunstrom is not. So I was going to say, I was surprised actually.
Ooh.
Wide into the final corner goes Maximilian Thunstrom, and Zatichi tries to take advantage, but locks up the right front on the way in, and can't do anything with it then. But yeah, my point was going to be, I was surprised Thunstrom hadn't got past Taylor yet, but given he's not actually on the softs, that makes sense.
Yeah. Where he's only one step softer as opposed to the two, but I will say, Taylor is still doing quite a good job.
He is. He's only fallen 2 seconds behind James Vazquez then, and that's not bad given he's on the slowest compound of tyre.
Yeah, and Vazquez has been looking dialed in for the last couple of days here. He was very rapid yesterday with a fantastic qualifying result, and he's looking fairly comfortable here today.
Also, Vazquez is on the softs.
2 steps softer. Oh yeah, he is, isn't he?
And he's only pulled out 2 seconds. That's I think your point.
As settled as I thought.
Yeah, I think your point about the tyres overheating might not be a bad shout actually. It's I'd have expected the gap to have opened up rather more than that.
I guess if anything, Powers being able to keep his tyres alive is just the exception that's proving the rule. Because I would expect of all the drivers on the grid, the winningest driver in Formula Virtual history, Nathaniel Powers, to be the one to be able to do it.
Is he?
He's won the most anything ever. I'm sure.
I thought Ruiz had more race wins. Oh no, he doesn't. No, sorry, Powers does have it by 1. Okay, they end up so close, I get confused.
Oh, here comes Powers then, up the inside of Simon then, looking for that second place. Has he got it secured? Simon keeps his nose in. Oh, they're still wheel to wheel going through this slow section where the car feels so clunky, and Nathaniel Flowers slams the door closed there. Excellent move there.
Nathaniel ploughs his way through.
Nice.
But that is brilliant for the Lucas driver who's now got himself into second. They are now, however, some 3 seconds back already from Enrique Ruiz, so that little bit of battling there cost them a significant amount of time. But it does look as though Powers is immediately gapping Adrian Simon. I wonder if that's a small problem just starting to rear its head for Simon, because immediately as well, Van Snelheid onto the back of the Matthershaw Porsche.
It could well be. I mean, part of the reason why they do lose so much time battling through there is because it is a very technical section. If you're side by side, you're well off the pace compared to what you might be in some other corners. But you are right.
And here we go. Carlos Van Snelheid dives for the inside at the same corner then, and Van Snelheid goes through. And is that clean a move? It is. He's through already before they enter the left-handers, and Van Snelheid up to third ahead of the pole sitter.
Just wondering if maybe Simon has run over some debris, or he's like tapped the wall somewhere and it's affecting his car in some way, but he's not looking comfortable.
He's not, and he keeps leaving the door open at that corner, at that hairpin.
Yeah, and Simon's not a nervous driver by nature at all, so that's very uncharacteristic. Look, for a second he had dropped nearly a second, but
yeah, look at the time as well. I think that goes to show how much time they lost. James Vazquez is now 3.5 seconds behind them. That gap was up to 6.
Oh yeah, that is quite a... Yeah, so whatever it is, something is costing Adrian Simon time there in that Matthershaw. Look, you can see how much closer Vazquez is behind. Yeah,
absolutely. And how much Simon's falling back from the cars in front.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll keep an eye on that one then, and keep abreast across any information from the team if we get it. As Maximilian Thunstrom absolutely stalking Will Taylor at the moment then, but unable to find a way past the British driver.
Yeah, absolutely. And just looking at this train here, obviously with Thunstrom going wide earlier and Satichi locking up, apparently he's already complaining of vibrations on that right front, and he's got a long way to go in this race if we expect him to go on no stops like they did last time out. So That's a bit of a rough troll there for the rookie, and he's going to have to overcome that. But with those kind of vibrations on the flat spot, it just your teeth just chattering. You get a headache very quickly in these cars.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good job he's young enough not to have any fillings yet.
Yes, absolutely. Though he might need some after the race.
He might do. He might need glue to hold his teeth back in.
At this rate, I think he'd just appreciate some glue to hold his teeth together.
Oh yes.
He's going to feel like they're falling out all the way through the race.
Very much so. We'll take his helmet off, and there'll just be a load of teeth that will just drop out the bottom of it.
Like those nightmares you have where your teeth are falling out. It'd be,
yeah.
Like that, he's just having one of his nightmares, but in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, to be fair, given how Japan went last time out, I think this will feel like a nightmare at the moment, being down in 8th.
Yeah, but I think it's an important lesson in your career. You know, obviously you can come in one weekend and win it, and some weekends, wrong place, wrong time, especially at a street circuit. And this is the first time we've gone to a proper old school street circuit. That it just doesn't go your way, and you just have to keep your head up and make the best of what you got.
Absolutely, it will be interesting for his character development to see how or if he recovers from this here today. And at the moment he's doing a solid job keeping with the cars in front and not dropping back too far.
Yeah,
and I think that's all he can do at this point in time.
Absolutely, and obviously on those harder tyres, it is going to be hard to make any immediate sort of impact, especially on the medium-tyred Thunstrom in front, who's very close to Taylor. Taylor keeps that door open, very confident there. The Brit, very sure of himself. Thunstrom won't just throw it up the inside.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Taylor feels happy, doesn't he? At the moment, just driving his own line, not wasting time defending. And I think it's working for him. As further back we see a train behind. That's got to be that was Hunter Ryan, wasn't it? So that's the train behind Finn Schneider at the moment, because that's where the gap is.
Oh, Schneider's past
and
Highlander. I didn't know. When did that happen? That must have happened ages ago.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah,
if he's passed him, though, he hasn't pulled away.
Yes.
Zylander's stuck with him.
Yeah, Zylander's kept him honest. And he's not dropped any more places. God, Zylander, really impressive stuff so far this season. Just to have that car on the grid 2 races in a row is an Olympic effort. Olympian effort?
Yeah.
An heroic effort.
Absolutely is. Zylander's been unbelievable. We've had 2 races, but the performances Zylander has put in have been season worthy. It's I don't think anyone expected that car to be close to qualifying. With the greatest of respects to the High Wind Sea, even they didn't expect to be on the grid. I
think, when Zylander, it was announced that he was going to High Wind for this season, a lot of people were quite sad because we didn't expect to see him on the grid this year. Again, all the best.
And then he joined High Wind, and we didn't expect to see him on the grid.
Well, yeah, exactly. We're going from we'll see him in a car in practice and in pre-qualifying. But Zylander determined to prove everybody wrong. Obviously, he had a solid season last year. Nearly got Phoenix their first podium in Dubai.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Where he got pole position, I believe. But
no, he was on pole in Germany.
That was it. Yeah. But did fall off a little bit towards the end of the season. But for the most part of the year, he was one of the best drivers on the grid. I thought
it was very much a breakthrough year for Thierry Zylander last season.
Absolutely, he needed it, and you got to feel for him that after being held alongside Alvarez for so long, being outperformed, finally, here we go.
Oh yeah, that's Thunstrom through. Maximilian Thunstrom then at the hairpin that Will Taylor keeps leaving the door open at. We said he was happy to do it. Oh, I think he did it again, and this time Thunstrom decided to walk through it.
Yeah, maybe a bit of lesson learned there. Oh god, that's terrible for that tyre.
That tyre's going to be like a 50p piece.
Yeah, so if you thought those vibrations were bad before, he's in for a rough ride now. Obviously, as most racing fans might already be aware, once you lock up a tyre once, that tyre is much more likely to lock up again and again. It's more than happy to find that flat spot and make it bigger. So Satici's just made his afternoon a lot longer.
He certainly has, and look at the brakes glowing through those early corners, where obviously they are on the brakes quite a bit, although it's not particularly high speed. I mean, I suppose the biggest braking zone is at the end of this straight
and curve around that corner.
It is good, isn't it? That's onto the straight. That's the one. The second half of the Brabham Straight. Obviously, we're running the slightly shorter layout here at Adelaide.
Yes, we are. And when we have a lull in the racing, I have some really fun facts about Adelaide, courtesy of one of our resident Australians, Dylan Lopez. I thought I'd shout him out as the fact provider, because without him I wouldn't have any of these.
Well, yeah, let's just take a look through the order then and see where our current battles are. We've got Ruiz out front, and the gaps remain steady at about 3 seconds now back to Nathaniel Powers. Then, since Klaas van Snelheid has gone through on Adrian Simon, he's stayed relatively steady again, about 2 seconds back from Powers. Simon has continued to fall back, and in fact, James Vazquez is catching the Frenchman and pole sitter. That gap down to about 2.3 seconds. It's not a massive. Vazquez isn't rapidly reeling him in, but he is steadily closing that gap. Thunstrom now through into sixth, then, as we mentioned, ahead of Will Taylor, but not really pulling away from Brett. And Matteo Zatici just sat in behind Puccio Giordano, a couple of seconds back, but with a mammoth train behind him.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, back on the note of Zatici, obviously we discussed his inexperience just a minute ago, but I really think he is now starting to show it in this stint. He's on the ragged edge. We've seen him lock up twice. Those brakes, as you said, are glowing red hot. The tyres seem to be sort of coming away from him a bit. He really is faster than a Phoenix in front. He's in the Downton, a race winner. He won the last race. So he's really showing just, I think, especially now he's seeing Thunstrom starting to get away slightly. It's getting into his head a little bit, and he's just got to settle down a little bit there, because he's going to throw away his whole race if he can't keep it under control. Yeah,
very much so. But then you make the point. Obviously, it's a quicker car. It is a quicker car, but I don't think it's a massively quicker car. And we've seen already that overtaking is not the easiest here, and has so far only been done by drivers on pretty much a softer compound. I think the only overtake we've seen with two cars on the same compound was Klaas past Simon. That wasn't obviously the opening lap, or as a result of some chaos.
Yes, it might be actually, yeah.
I'm not sure there have been any more. What are Schneider and Zylander on?
I think they're on the hards.
Schneider and Zylander are both on the mediums.
Oh, they're on the mediums?
So, okay, Finn might have pulled one off as well. But yeah, other than that, we're not really seeing overtakes unless there's a tyre advantage here at the moment.
That's a fair point. I hadn't actually considered that, so...
And even then, they're rare.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll let Zatici off the hook then. I'll stop grilling him for 5 minutes.
Yeah, give it until he next locks up in a couple of laps time.
Yeah, when he gets another opportunity and squanders it.
Yeah, God, if he keeps doing that, what's his tyre going to look like at the end? Assuming they will run to the end on this set of hard tyres. All those guys on the hard tyres will not make a pit stop. He's going to have one sort of side of the tyre that's going to be significantly less rubber on than the others.
There's an episode of The Simpsons where
there's
a lock up there.
That's Hunter Ryan doing his best to mimic Matteo Zatici there.
Yeah, obviously Ryan having a very disappointing home race here, and it is a home race for him. He was actually born and raised in a suburb of Adelaide called Glenelg, which is actually itself a palindrome. It is the same
sound
if you spell
Australian.
It forwards and backwards. I promise. These are facts. These are facts from Dylan. This is a bona fide Australian fact. You can't. If you're disputing it, you're going to war with Australia.
I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying.
Well, to be fair,
Glenelg sounds more Welsh than Australian.
Well, you think it was sort of like British people that settled here, so. And you've got stuff like New South Wales as a state in Australia. So
yeah, there is. That's a very good point.
There you go.
They're obviously just a fan of Wales.
Someone has to be.
You beat me to it. Damn it.
Yeah. So very disappointing for Ryan. As I said, he was very unlucky to not get his second run in qualifying yesterday. Obviously, we'll touch on that a bit more in a moment. But he would have been hoping for more. But it is interesting, isn't it? Even with, we talk about drivers having home races. This is about as home race as it can get. It's got to be amazing to race around the streets where you grew up.
Absolutely. Just looking at his fellow, what's the word? Compatriot. That's the one. Yeah. countryman work, Patriot.
The fastest lap for Ruiz there.
Yeah, he keeps banging them in, doesn't he? Going far better for Nick Addison. He's currently running in the points for Arrow.
He is. He started in 12th, but he's made up a couple of places. That's very handy there.
Yeah, after his retirement late on in Japan from, admittedly, what wasn't a point-scoring position, but he wasn't a million miles away.
And it was a good race for him as well, so it was still quite upsetting.
It was a good race for the whole team, I think, in Japan. I think Arrow were, obviously probably slightly disappointed not to come away with a point or two, but I think very pleased with the general pace.
General pace. So I don't know why I repeated what he said. Yeah.
I don't think he's an actual general, to be honest.
Arrow have been very impressive. Like, I have been, year on year, watching them sort of grow and move forwards has been really, really good to see. And I really hope we'll be able to see more of it year on year. But it is hard to do in this economy. So it'll be interesting to see where they are next season. But for now, they can just enjoy the fact that they have got a pretty solid car this year.
They can, and they certainly seem to be the best Honda-powered team.
Well, I do wonder, because do we know if Arrow are actually running the hybrid spec of the Honda that Franklin are? Because I just wonder if that might be making a difference, because I can't see any of those same bits and bobs that they've got on the Franklin as there are on the Arrow, if that makes sense. So I'm wondering if maybe they've opted for a non-hybrid option and it's maybe serving them slightly better.
I barely know what spec of engine we're running.
I think if they aren't running that hybrid version, that would explain quite a lot, because obviously hybrid tech is all well and good and it does produce you a lot of extra power, but it carries so much extra weight to make it like worthwhile. Even when hybrid tech was in its early days in the form of KERS in Formula 1, that did carry a substantial weight penalty that they had to develop a serious amount of horsepower just to overcome that.
Well, not that, yeah, because didn't some teams elected to not run it as a result, didn't they?
Most teams, in fact, I'm pretty sure it was pretty much only BMW Sauber, Ferrari and McLaren that ran it for at least the majority of the season. Williams had plans to, but they were running a flywheel-based KERS system, which was even heavier, so they, I believe, sold that off to Porsche for their exploits in other racing series. But energy recovery systems are extremely heavy. And I feel like Franklin's engineers, as smart as they are, might have underestimated the impact of that.
Absolutely. There's a little bit of history talk on, that other single-seater racing series. Into the pits. That's
lap 25.
Is that Simon?
That
is Ruiz. Sorry, I thought we'd already seen Ruiz go through. That totally threw me. Ruiz pits then from the lead on his soft tyres. Powers, interestingly, carries on, and wow, Simon fallen a long way. Simon's now nearly 6 seconds behind Klaas van Snelheid, but it's a really quick pit stop then, 3.5 seconds in the box, only 16.5 seconds total pit loss for Enrique Ruiz, who rejoins in that lovely little gap that's formed between James Vazquez and Maximilian Thunstrom.
Yeah, and I can't imagine that he's going to have too much trouble getting past Vazquez, as here we see Brock Kidd in the pits. Bit slower stop there, 3.9. And Ryan follows him in as well. So some soft tyres runners pitting and some not. We'll see if the overcut or the undercut works.
Absolutely. All eyes on Nathaniel Powers then. He was about, 3 seconds behind Ruiz, so that's kind of the gap we'll be looking for. We assume he will be diving into the pits at the end of this lap for his first stop here in Australia with the Lucas team, and indeed he is. That will hand the lead to Klaas van Snelheid then, as Nathaniel Powers peels in from, I was going to say second place, but he had actually gone up to the lead, hadn't he? And let's see how the Lucas team perform here.
Here we go. Into his pit box, spots his marks nicely. It's a long stop there compared to Ruiz there. He's lost half a second.
Yeah, he has indeed, but quicker overall. 16 seconds, rejoins behind Ruiz, but the gap is now 5.5 seconds. So a lot of time lost there, despite generally a half a second quicker in the whole pit sequence. James Vazquez likewise rejoins in 8th then, just behind Matteo Zatici.
Yeah,
well, I say just behind, 4.5 seconds behind.
It's all relative. Nothing's real. So that's perfect then. Oh, you go.
I was just going to say, undercut then here seems to be way more powerful, as Enrique Ruiz already straight onto the back of his teammate.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I can't imagine, based on their battle earlier, that Simon will put up too much of a fight. But we'll see. It's a long race. He might have changed his mind.
Well, absolutely, especially when you consider this is probably going to be
Position.
yeah, full position now, isn't it? Whereas earlier he knew that Ruiz was likely going to have to make one more stop. Now it's probably not the case. Having said that, when did they pit? About 25, 26. So how many stops is that going to be? Because we don't have our
today.
pit reporter. Is that what? Ah, lovely. Thank you very much.
It's okay. I was doing the maths while you were sort of working out the pit fouls. So we are looking at a 2-stop strategy for the soft side runs today. On the pit window is going to open for between lap 49 to lap 52. That's when I would expect some pit stops to be happening, and then obviously they'll be able to make it easily through to the finish.
Lovely jubbly. Thank you very much.
How close they were through there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we go on the inside.
Yep, and again, Simon leaves the door open, sees his teammate come in, decides not to fight it, and Ruiz slips through into second place. He'd lost time though. Look how much time he's lost. Powers has closed in by a second and a half.
Yeah, so now C1's going to be on rear gunner duty here. He's going to be holding up Powers. Absolutely a treat as much as he can, just to give his teammate more of a buffer there. Whereas he did make it arguably quite easy for Enrique Ruiz there. His Power sets the fastest lap of 59.5.
Is that the first lap of this race under the 60-second mark?
It's the first one that I've seen under 60 seconds, Bradley. That is a phenomenal effort.
It's certainly. They're not miles off the pole time with that.
No,
for 3:10s, 59.2.
Yeah. Here he goes. Oh, Schneider still holding up the strain, so he just can't pull away.
He
That's
can't.
Really odd.
But he is the only AMR in the race.
He is, yeah. Obviously at the expense. No, Zylander getting through at the expense of his teammate Zolia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, was it? Yes, actually. Was it Zylander that knocked him out? No.
Oh no, Hunter Ryan with a DNF at his home race. That is going to be so gutting for the Australian.
Well, that caps a miserable weekend, doesn't it?
Yeah, you got to feel for him. As we were just saying, oh, a big look up there from that's Vasquez, I believe.
It's Vasquez doing a Zatichi on Zatichi.
Yeah, Zatici's gonna like, hey, I know that one.
Zatici's looking in his mirrors, going, "Is that me? What? Hang on."
I've got a copycat. I must be setting a trend here.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, we are seeing more and more drivers do that now.
Yeah, I suppose maybe as the race is going on, they're just maybe finding some marbles there offline, and that's sort of affecting the grip levels. But it could just be that you're already quite loaded up when you come into that braking zone. It's very easy to get it wrong.
Yeah, certainly is. I was just looking at Q1. It was actually Finn Schneider who was in 6th in pre-qualifying. Sorry, Zolli was slower than Zientek, so Zolli wasn't even sort of close to getting through, really.
That's worrying for AMR because, you know, they've... I think they got asked this in the press conference, I can't remember, but, you know, they had a rough time for a long time. As, yeah, you can see Powers really on the rear here, hounding Simon through this first sector. But yeah, they spent a long time at the back of the grid, and you would think they'd be further up the order than this for it to be worth it. And they've got to be asking themselves some questions.
Well, I think, in fairness, I don't think the car, when we saw in Japan, I don't think the car is as bad as it looked here in pre-qualifying. I think it was more unfortunate
Here we go.
than
We've got to move up
anything.
the inside.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted to take it over there. That's a really clean move there from Power. Surprising that Simon chose not to cover that inside line. But he has then lost that time back to Ruiz again. So I guess it all works out in a way. But,
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like Simon's driving around here going, I know my line, I'm sticking to my line, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's not a bad way to drive. He knows there's not really any threat from behind, and he knows he's not really in the same race. You think they made up a pit stop on him before even halfway through the race. He maybe just wants to keep himself solid, keep his pace going, keep his tyres alive, and maybe capitalise on the misfortune of those ahead. But it's not the worst strategy in the world, but I do wonder if maybe the team would have been hoping for a bit more gusto there.
Absolutely, and I can't help but shake the feeling that there might be an underlying issue with that car, because look at the time now that he's lost to Klaas van Snelheid. The two of them are on the same tyre compound, and that car, those two cars, have looked throughout testing, throughout Japan, to all intents and purposes, nearly equal. If anything, the Mattershore slightly quicker. So for Simon to have lost that much in just sort of 30 laps or so, and half an hour of racing is very unusual.
Yeah, I do wonder, because obviously, especially with the size of these massive curves here, if he could have just picked up some floor damage maybe, and he's just having to drive around that, because you know, you'll see the drivers around here in the past, in other circuits, will have seen them really ride the curbs. You aren't seeing that at this race. They are very afraid of these high curves and just wanting to keep their cars in one piece. And I just wonder if maybe Simon's gotten a bit too greedy somewhere.
Yeah, it's very possible that it is, but we will keep an eye and see what Simon's pace looks like in relation to everyone else. Then, as we go back to Matteo Zattici in the pack, he is still in 7th place, still sat behind Will Taylor, then unable to make a move on the Phoenix driver. They've got I was going to say Matson, but it's not Matson, is it? It's Vasquez. James Vasquez up behind them on his fresher soft tyres, having made his obviously first pit stop. Thunstrom's pulled away, but not by a massive amount from those two.
Max Mayer's just been lapped there, and I'll tell you what, since that front wing incident, he's actually lost time to the back of the grid there, Bradley.
That's not great, is it?
No, not particularly, but
especially seeing as I think the cars in front of him are cars that have pitted. Because wasn't it? I'm sure when he had his incident, it was Kinnaman.
Yes, it was, and he was barely closing on a Kinnaman. And yeah, now he's got Kid and Halverson in front of him, who are both pitted. I'll tell you what though, he's holding up Ruiz quite nicely.
I was going to say, Adrian Simon should be taking notes here, shouldn't he?
Well,
that's the kind of line you need to take to defend into that thing.
This is the exact opposite of the Porsche team orders.
Whoa, yeah, which won't go down too well, given Porsche customer. Yeah, that's Matteo Zattici then. It's taken him the best part of 30 laps, but finally Zattici has found the inside line at the hairpin and he's through on Will Taylor.
I wonder if maybe the threat of Vasquez behind just sort of gave him the spur that he needed to get that move done up the inside there. But yeah, he's finally got it done. He can finally look forwards to Thunstrom, who has not really gotten away from them. He's only 3 seconds in front.
Yeah, although a second of that has come in the last lap, because when I looked at that a moment ago, it was only 1.8. So, I wonder if the small bit of battling there between Zattici and Taylor just cost him some time.
Oh, up the inside, finally goes Ruiz then. He finds that move past Max Mayer, and he laps the South African.
Only took him an entire lap.
Yeah, and the damage it's done, obviously, that whole lap, he could have been catching up to Van Snelheid, applying the pressure. But now it looks like Van Snelheid is going to have a pretty clear run. Oh, because we got a smoke.
Oh, no, that's Will Taylor.
Oh, he stopped on the Apex. Uh-oh.
That doesn't look great. There is smoke billowing out of the airbox then. Will Taylor needs to get out of that car. The cars are getting... No, they're not getting around him. It's Kanga. Alar Kanga, his teammate, has hit the back of Taylor's car. The cars in front between them had managed to get through, and that's clumsy from Schneider. Schneider's into Taylor, and there's cars everywhere.
With a street circuit, a proper street circuit. Oh god, I think that was a Westwood in the wall.
That's one of the Westwoods, and that is a right rear wheel off of Timo Kinnaman. One of the North Star's bunny hops.
How is that North Star still together? Well, my car bumps him on the way by. Nah.
Oh, that's the leaders. No, Klaas van Snelheid then gets away with it. They've hit quite a bit of debris between them, though. I wonder if that's going to result in any punctures for the cars at the head of the field.
There's so much debris strewn across the track now, and this... I mean, all I can hope for is that his engine seized up, because there's no excuse to stop your car on the line like that.
I mean, it didn't look like he had a... Oh!
There's that dangerous pit exit I mentioned in my my column the other week.
That was more... I mean, the fact that Van Snelheid came through turn 1 sideways.
Oh, I wasn't looking at that. I thought you were just sort of...
No. That was... yeah, Van Snelheid clipped the curb on the inside and it threw the car, and quite how he held that, I have no idea.
Now, like I said, those curbs are brutal. They will punish you if you're not careful. I'll tell you who's raced that's ruined. I know he's just pitted, but Thierry Highlander really got stuck there. and now finds himself not too well off after his pit stop.
Well, he lost his front wing in that, Zylander did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, there was I mean, to be fair, most of the cars did. There were definitely 3 or 4 front wings strewn across the racetrack there.
Yeah,
and
it
I
was
think
a bit of a hassle.
I think Schneider, Takahashi, and Mayer all had to pit as a result of that little melee down at the hairpin.
I would still expect them to make the end, I think, on one stop, but obviously it's a longer stop and it puts them back in traffic, which they wouldn't have wanted. Although Schneider's got a decent gap, I suppose.
Oh yeah, no, they should comfortably make the end because we're past half distance.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll be all right.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, that was a horror show there at front. That was really not what anybody wanted to see.
What I don't understand there is this is who are we watching? Oh, that's Class ahead of Takahashi then, isn't it? Having just lapped the Japanese driver who's also just had to make that unscheduled pit stop. So Takahashi on fresh rubber will probably be fairly quick at the moment.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Given Class is on some 38 lap old mediums now.
That's a good point. So Takahashi could well be faster and just sort of caught up, but without blue flags, he's fair game.
He is, but he doesn't seem to be wanting to really make a move. I'll tell you who this isn't helping, and that's Ruiz.
Yeah, there's now a car between him and the guy he wants to pass. Because obviously if he can get that move done on Van Snelheid, that's just sort of the icing on the cake to the end of, for the start of the second half of the race.
Absolutely. And arguably, he's got a car between himself and Van Snelheid that's probably quicker than the guy he wants to overtake. But Takahashi to the inside of the race leader then, and Yukumi Takahashi unlaps himself. No, he doesn't. He does. They're side by side.
He does. He's got it. And
he
now
does.
That's opened the door then. Klaas Van Snelheid is on the back foot going into the final corner. Not quite enough room, but Ruiz is right on his tail now.
Yeah, Klaas was wise to that and immediately got himself back into line to cover off any threat there from Ruiz going past. But it's not often we see an overtake on the race leader, not for the lead, is it?
No, I think that might be the first that I remember in certainly at least a long time. As Simon there makes his stop, so that is lap 39 for the Frenchman.
Yeah, the end of lap 39 for what should be his one and only stop. 16.8 seconds total in the pit lane for Adrian Simon. Rejoins in some lovely clear air there between Matteo Zattici and his fellow Italian, Puccio Giordano, who's had a quiet but solid race so far.
He's had a good weekend, to be honest, there, Bradley. After I believe he struggled last time out, or no, he didn't.
I think he was top 10 again.
But he's been doing well this year so far, just sort of keeping his nose clean, getting results where he can, and just. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so there goes Klaas in the pits as well. So that was probably to be expected.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't watching. I was watching. Alar Kanga had just made his pit stop as well, but that incident really cost Phoenix, didn't it? They lost one car through retirement, and the other one ran into it and lost quite a bit of time. As that's a relatively quick stop there from Downton, 3.4 seconds. Van Snelheid spends 16.5 in the lane and rejoins in third, then clear of James Vasquez and miles up the road from. Actually, he's not that far ahead of Simon, so yeah, definitely the undercut looks more powerful here then, because Simon closed in some of that gap. He lost out.
It's a bit tight on the pit exit there.
It was a little, wasn't it? But Thunderstrom did get clear.
Oh, Clean is going down the order.
Oh no! And look at them all. There's loads of cars filtering into the pit lane then.
I don't know what's going on.
No, we've still got a yellow flag that keeps appearing and disappearing in Sector 3, but we have both first cars and both Franklins in the pit lane then. Is that a long stop for Clean? It looks like it's ticking up to a...
Pixelated. Yes, it is. 11.5 seconds, so...
There we go. So, here we go. This is... Oh, Cleon spun.
Oh, God.
Who was that hit him? Oh, that's the other Westwood. That's Jules Barkley. Oh, it's a disaster for Westwood then, as both cars taken out in really non-fault incidents.
Yeah, obviously you're unsighted when you come around that corner. There was not really any way, you know, with the car fully loaded up, you can't avoid that incident. Just really unlucky. But that's a shame. Barkley was looking quite good. He was up in 13th, but he was on the harder tyres. So he could have maybe been in with the shout of points today, but unfortunately that one's going to be one of those that's going to go down as a what if, or an if only, as we've got Simon up the inside of Zatici. Very nice move, and he takes...
P5.
Oh yeah, there he is. I don't know why I couldn't see him.
Yeah, so fresh medium tyres there. Sorry?
No, it's all gone. I was just wondering if there's any debris still on the track, but it's cleared up quite nicely.
Ah, yeah. As Klaas van Schneider then, on his fresh mediums, bangs in a fastest lap. But yeah, I don't think that was really any surprise. Simon on Zatici there, he's on as Klaas's fresh mediums against rather worn hard tyres now.
Absolutely. Yeah, you would have expected that move, as you said, to happen fairly quickly, especially where you know, Zatici is struggling with vibrations at the moment. He's not going to be trying to push too hard under braking. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I'll tell you what, this race is working out all right for Sergio Alvarez at the moment, isn't it? Who is not on screen at the moment. That's Maya. But yeah, Alvarez up to 11th from 23rd on the grid on the hard tyres, so not really expecting him to pit at any point.
If he can drive the defensive drive, I guess, of his life, then yeah, he's at least on for a solid 11th place here.
Yeah, having said that, Matson in front of him is on mediums, and so is Addison. So neither of them are going to pit again, actually.
I don't think we're going to see any more pit stops, barring those who are out of sync.
Soft tyres still need to pit again, don't they?
Yeah, maybe.
I think the guys on the soft still need to do their second stop.
Yeah, they do. I was getting ahead of myself there.
But there aren't many of them.
We need to have some pit stops. I can't really see anyone though that, as you say, is going to be pitting behind and coming out behind Alvarez. At least that isn't already behind him.
No, but
we go up the inside, easy lap.
Yeah, that's Van Schnelheid on Max Meyer then, who decides letting one of the leaders through. Decides to make it a little bit easier this time than he did previously.
Yeah, he's had his fun. And now he's just going to sort of let the race unfold.
Absolutely.
I guess. Maybe he's just running out of tyres. He did pit quite early. Oh, there he goes. He's pitting now.
I'll tell you what, that was probably quite a crucial move actually for Klaas van Schnelheid. Just looking at the time gaps, he is 9 seconds behind Powers, who's 3.5 behind Ruiz. So if we're thinking it's sort of 16 seconds minimum for a pit stop here, Ruiz is probably getting fairly close to that advantage over Klaas van Schnelheid. So Klaas can't really afford to let him eke that out much more.
Yeah, I mean, with the speed differential that Klaas is going to have, as you say, no, Ruiz is going to have, sorry, as you say, Klaas needs all the time he can get in this stint here.
Yeah, very much so. What is the gap at the moment? We've got just over 3 and 8.5, so 11 and a bit seconds.
Around 11, 12 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, well, that will be interesting.
Gives actually if Vasquez, because Vasquez delayed his pit stop last time round, did he not? Or was he on the same lap as the leader?
I mean, it was within 1 or 2, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would be surprised if Ruiz doesn't come out in clear air behind Klaas here, and that will, well, just, excluding any lap traffic that we don't have.
Although
ability to see on the.
It might be kind of. Oh no, I think Simon's too far back now, actually, isn't he? Unless Ruiz has a rough pit stop.
Yeah, or has trouble lapping someone or something like that. But yeah, it looks like he's still putting in good lap times. So,
although as we can see on screen, that is Nathaniel Powers at the back of this. So the leaders are in traffic. I mean, that's Powers behind Hoskins, who, if we look, is 0.3 behind Zylander, who's 1.7 seconds behind Perez. So, yeah, so Ruiz will be in amongst, well, there he is, actually. So that's Ruiz up behind Takahashi. It is indeed. So he has actually got 3 cars in fairly close company in front of him. So Ruiz isn't going to be able to use the pace here.
Look at the gap to Klaas, though. It's come down by a second.
It has, yeah, which means I think Vasquez and Simon will be closing in as well. Because further back, they won't have any traffic.
We've got some battling further back. Halverson overtakes Alvarez there. 2 steps softer. They're still fresher tyres. Like,
yeah,
pretty standard move there. As Kid is probably going to look to follow his teammate through.
Have to say, it's not nice to see obviously Halverson in the race this time, whereas it all went wrong in Japan.
Oh yeah.
Last time out for the Dane. Obviously, unfortunate both him and North Star missing a race for the first time after failing to qualify. But I think this is kind of the pace that North Star looked to have anyway. So that was a real shock. But it's nice again to see that Kid is on the pace of his teammate, and I think actually qualified ahead again.
Yeah, and we saw a lot last season as well. They were quite evenly matched pace-wise. I think it's a good sign that you've got 2 solid drivers that are getting the most out of their car when there's not really a gap between them at all. There's nothing to choose between them. So they're clearly, whatever they're doing at North Star, while there might be more pace to unlock, they're certainly, like in terms of the car in general, they're certainly getting their setup right and the way they're going about the weekend.
They certainly are. I think it's just it's a really impressive turnaround from what looked like a fairly difficult pre-season testing and then a shocking pre-qualifying in Japan, we would say, as with Halverson going out. It's nice to see North Star do actually have some pace in that car, especially after a really tough time last season. As Stefan Klein has joined the list of retirements there. I wondered what the yellow flag was in Sector 3. The Austrian is unfortunately out of this race now, as we see Enrique Ruiz now. That's like 4 or 5 cars. Yes, a 5-car train he's got in front of him that Ruiz just cannot do anything about. And the gaps behind are... Van Snelheid is chomping it down. It's now less than 10 seconds between Ruiz and Van Snelheid. This is not working for the Brazilian whatsoever. As still then, he cannot find a way past Yukimi Takahashi. 5.5 seconds back to...
Whoa.
Oh, that's a big fire for Stefan Klein then, and that is what went wrong for the Austrian. And he'll be wanting to get out of that immediately. It looks as though it has sort of the flames have engulfed the cockpit, but hopefully he will have been out of that in a flash, and that won't have affected him too much.
Yeah, no, hopefully they were able to get him out of the car in a reasonable time there. But they have procedures for that. And the cars are designed to be able to get them out quite easily. And obviously, as we all know, they do wear some level of fire protection as well. So,
absolutely. Do we know if Stefan Klein wears jewellery at all?
That could have been what done it for him. What could have been lethal.
In front, yeah, so sorry, this is in front of Ruiz then, race leader, and this might be why he's not really finding his way past this traffic, because these 5 cars are all battling. We saw there into the hairpin, 4 of them. I mean, not you know, weren't 4 side by side, but we had 2 side by side and 2 behind them side by side as well. And Ruiz decides now he's had enough and he's into the pits. The gap's behind. Van Snelheid is only 5-6 seconds back from Ruiz.
Yeah, and he roars through into second place there. And I'll imagine he'll take the lead when Powers pits in a lap or two's time. But
absolutely,
that has given Ruiz everything to do in this closing stage of the race. Although
16.7 seconds in the pit stop then for Ruiz. He's just over 7 seconds behind Klaas Van Snelheid. Thankfully for him, Vasquez and Simon didn't quite get close enough in the clear air. But yeah, a lot of work, as you say now, to do for the Brazilian.
Well, let's not forget as well, though, Van Snelheid will now have to go through these guys in front. So
he will.
You know, it's swung one way, but it will very quickly swing the other.
Absolutely, and I don't think many, if any of them, are on the soft tyres, so they won't be pitting.
I saw mostly medium tyres in that train, yeah.
Yeah, I think the only cars in the midfield on the soft tyres are Kidd and Halverson.
Yeah, there goes Kidd in the pits.
And Nathaniel Powers in as well then from the lead, which does hand it back to Klaas Van Snelheid then. Where will Powers rejoin, you'd imagine? Oh, actually, this is going to be close, isn't it? Yeah, Vasquez and Simon, I think, have gone through. Ooh. Nathaniel Powers is out in 5th, and that's even more work to do then for the 5-time champion. for him to fight his way back onto the podium.
Yeah, although Vasquez is going to pit again.
He will.
And Simon hasn't looked as fast as he could today, so there's still, I would say, Powers shouldn't have too much trouble.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually. He's only 2 seconds behind Simon and on fresher, quicker tyres. And you just need to look at the gap up front. Ruiz has already taken a 1.5 seconds out of Van Snelheid in
a
lap and a half.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a done deal here, Brad.
It certainly does, especially with the Dutchman coming up on the back of traffic then. That is Zylander and Hoskins, isn't it? So, and then there's more cars stacked up ahead of them. Perez, Takahashi, and that whole train that Ruiz was stuck in before his pit stop.
Yeah, so as I was saying earlier, although
Look at that,
Ruiz...
it's a 59.1, that's quicker than qualifying!
My God, that boy's on a charge.
As James Vasquez dives in for his final stop. Matteo Zatici has gone through then, up into 6th place. So, Vasquez has got some work to do, but I don't think that's unachievable.
Yeah. But, I'll tell you who's had a solid, if quiet race, is Jean Matson. He's just sort of kept his wits about him, shown his experience, and he's looking at scoring a point here today.
Oh, he has, yeah. Matson up in
up the inside goes
10th
Powers on
yep.
Simon, and that is the podium place already.
And also, rather easy.
Yeah, Simon definitely nursing some kind of issue. I'm sure we'll hear about that after the race from Mafishaw themselves, but yeah, and here we go then. So, Van Snelheid fully caught up in this traffic now. Ruiz rapidly closing in. And at this rate, I would put money on Powers joining the fight.
I was literally just about to say that. Nathaniel Powers, only, what, less than 10 seconds now behind Klaas Van Snelheid on much quicker, much fresher tyres with this massive queue of back markers in front of the Dutchman. What are the chances that Powers can get up and join this fight?
Yeah, that queue is obviously headed up by Alvarez there, as Farini, I think, is lining up a move. He's right close up behind, but I don't think he's got one. No, he's not got it done. Oh, he has got it done. He's doing it as we speak. Cut to the battle, cut to the fight.
We're watching the race leader.
Yeah, but he's not doing anything. He's just following them.
He is, yes, this is very true.
That move. So that is really, really good there for Farini, up into 12th position.
I tell you what as well, look at the time gaps. Obviously, Klaas here is behind Zylander. Less than 4 seconds behind Zylander is Halverson, who will have just pitted for some fresh, soft tyres. I think Van Snelheid's also going to have Halverson and Kidd coming at him.
He very well could, yeah. As here we go, look at that. Ruiz is already on the back of Klaas. We've got a yellow flag, as that's Matt Farini.
Oh, Kanga's dropping down the order. The second of the Phoenix cars then. And that's both of them out with engine failures.
I did say before this race took place, this track breaks cars. You have to be sure that your package is going to go the distance. And, well, that doesn't just apply to engine reliability or suspension reliability, it applies to keeping your nose clean. And so far, there's been 2 teams that have got it completely wrong here. They've just not been able to make it to the finish, and that's what it's all about here. It's a race of survival.
Well, absolutely. That is a disaster for Phoenix, though. Their race looked really good at the start, but it fell apart really quickly. And I wonder if that's going to be cause for concern for the other Downton Power teams, especially with Klaas Van Snelheid stuck in so much traffic at the moment. But I just want to highlight, Powers in 3rd is only 3 seconds off now.
I've got a feeling, Bradley, that this one's going to end in tears.
And look at the Halverson and Kidd are there as well on the back of Ruiz. I said they'd be there. They're there already.
They're going to serve as a bit of a relief there to Van Snelheid, because they're putting 2 cars in between himself and Nathaniel Powers. So
they absolutely are. I tell you what, a bit of a gap's opened up between Zylander and Hoskins in front. I wonder if this is going to be the opportunity that Van Snelheid needs.
Oh, up the inside, he's got it.
Yeah, there we go. I did wonder. There's just not quite as much slipstream there for Van Snelheid there, for Zylander, sorry, as there had been on previous laps. And I think Klaas knew and sensed that was his opportunity. Now got a car between himself and Ruiz.
Yeah, so that was really important there. As Ruiz takes a wide line. He's under attack.
Under attack from Halverson. Halverson trying to unlap himself from Enrico Ruiz then. I don't think he's going to get that done on the drag down to turn 1. No, indeed he doesn't. Ruiz slots back in. But I'll tell you what, I think the lack of blue flags here is adding to this tremendously.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Ruiz is going to disagree with you, Bradley. But for the racing spectacle, this is phenomenal.
And look at that, Power's on the back of this little train now then, as Van Snelheid making hay while the sun's shining, using Zylander to brilliant effect as Ruiz got very squirrely on the curb there, and surely, he's nowhere near Zylander, surely that's going to give Halverson a run to unlap himself.
It may well do, yeah, look, here he goes, up the inside. Oh God, it's all coming apart for Ruiz here at the death.
It absolutely is. Ruiz will be hating this then, but that was a small error from the Brazilian onto the back straight, and it's cost him hugely. Van Snelheid now has nearly a 3-second advantage up front.
Yeah, obviously that's going to be capped by him catching up to the back of the next train, but, you know, that is still a buffer that he has back to his only contender for the race win, really.
Yeah, and 2 cars in between them as well. There are less cars now between Ruiz and Powers than there are.
Oh,
never mind. Oh no, that's Halverson slowing. Oh, that's heartbreak for the Dane then.
Very opportunistic move there from Powers, though. Oh, idiot.
Oh. There's a wall there, mate.
Yeah, don't hit that.
But thankfully Simon has got through, and Thunderstorm has as well, although decides to slow down and have a look. As does Zatici.
Rubbernecking going on there.
Yeah, it's a very British thing to do, isn't it? Slow down and look at an accident that's happened.
Yeah, because the traffic jam is never because of the actual accident. It's usually on the hard shoulder, but you slow right down, you get a look, and then you speed off.
Exactly.
So that's exactly what's happened here.
I'll tell you what, this is Vasquez on Zatici. Look at the pace advantage that James Vasquez get, and I wonder if he's going to throw a move up the inside. No, decides better of it there. But that looks like an overtake that's potentially coming, because Vasquez has got a lot more pace at the moment, and these two are in a bucket load of clean air.
Oh wow, there's a bit of scrapping going on here. Perez then has just been passed by Hoskins, I think, or is trying to pass Hoskins. As we've got, oh, that's Ruiz up the inside. You don't see overtakes there. It's also not Ruiz. It is Ruiz.
It is, yeah. That's Ruiz then throwing his way back up to the rear end of his closest challenger. Where's Powers? Powers is only behind Zylander, so they're nearly nose to tail the race leaders.
Yeah, Powers took advantage of Halverson retiring there and managed to get his way past Kidd, which was very smart. But, oh, there we go then. The move is on for Perez up the inside of Hoskins. Hoskins, having departed from first, is now relegated by a first into 16th position.
Yeah, I was just looking at that and thinking it was a real shame for Halverson retiring, but actually the 2 North Stars were running second to last and third to last.
Yeah, oh, so 2 big lockups there.
Oh yeah, Ruiz and Powers then. That won't do their soft tyres any good.
No, obviously they're really pushing as hard as they can. 10 laps to the finish here to try and get some kind of impact. Because every time that the car in front passes someone and you don't pass them immediately, that is a whole lap that you're going to lose time to them. So they really want to keep on their gearbox, shall we say, right at their chuff.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, this is breathless stuff. We've still got 10 laps to go. I know there'll be 10 very quick laps, but this is absolutely fantastic. Just looking slightly further back in the top 10, Matson is continuing his good run. He's passed Addison and is up into 9th now.
I hadn't even seen that. Yeah, that's a really good drive then from the Frenchman.
I'll tell you what, speaking of good drives, Danilo Ferrini, the slowest driver, essentially in qualifying, as the cars behind him, none of them had a second run due to the earlier incidents in the session. Ferrini's up to 11th from essentially last in qualifying.
Yeah, he's kept his nose clean through the incidents in front, and that's paid off. It's now paying its dividends to him. So
certainly is.
The Swiss.
Was that car just coming out of the pits in front of the leaders, or no? Can't have been.
Oh, as we start, Powers up the inside of Zylander, a very clunky move there, all over the curb. Wonder if he's got some damage from that then. But he looks to have got the move done for now.
Yeah, entirely possible. But he obviously saw what Ruiz had done and decided that if Ruiz can do it, he can do it too. I tell you what, this has also done. It's brought Adrian Simon back into play. Simon is right behind Brock Kidd, behind these guys. Simon's back in it. Yeah,
you're right. So that's exactly what maybe he was thinking earlier about, keeping his nose clean, keeping his tyres together. He might now be best placed if he's run his race correctly. These guys tripping over each other. He's well placed to have a good result.
Yeah, very much so.
He's still defending.
Yeah, further back, Vasquez still unable to do anything. about Matteo Zatici, as that's Ruiz up the inside, and the exit of the final corner, he's not quite going to get it done. Surprising he didn't have the traction there. Oh, he's hit the curb.
Yeah.
Ruiz,
a massive sideways moment in the centre chicane there.
Yeah, absolutely walloped the curb at turn 1 there. And Powers, now that he's got through, we have first, second and third absolutely nose to trail, but in just a sea of traffic.
Yeah, this is, well, all I will say is I'm happier with this than with, you know, blue flags causing drivers to suddenly slow down at random places. So I do think this is the safer way of doing it, but I just think the front runners aren't so happy with it. As Ruiz looks to nose themselves up, has he got a better exit? No, that door gets closed in his face.
Yeah, Klaas was wide there then, and kind of left the door open. I don't think he was expecting it. I don't think Ruiz was expecting it. It's a very, very last-minute decision, it seemed, to stick the nose up the inside there.
Speaking
it didn't pay off. Powers up the inside of Ruiz then for second place at the final corner, but he's not got the traction onto the start-finish straight, and Ruiz holds on. I'll tell you what, Klaas will love this. He'll be sat there going, yes, Nathaniel, please make that fight, and I will make good my escape here.
Yes, obviously the two former teammates, they've definitely still got some love there between each other, so maybe Nathaniel's just sort of trying to get his nose in and help out Klaas any way he can, but I think more likely Nathaniel smells an opportunity to win here.
He absolutely does, and regardless of how fond they might be of one another, if Powers gets through into second, he won't think twice about trying to overtake Klaas.
Absolutely not, no, there will be zero hesitation. Speaking of overtakes, Perez up the inside of Alvarez, takes that place and moves himself up into 14th.
I'll tell you what, the back markers are doing one hell of a job here in showing the race leaders how you do overtake.
Yeah, exactly. It seems
not that any of them seem to be taking note at the moment.
No, they're desperate to get it done somewhere else, but that's Zatici finally losing the place there to Vazquez, so couldn't hold on any longer. That is Klaas.
Yeah, Klaas on. That's Hoskins, isn't it? He's not going to get that done though, and Powers was up the inside of Ruiz at the final corner again.
Yellow in sector 2, here we go. They're going to run into this. No, it's all clear. Okay, we're all good.
We are all. Addison's lost a lot of time.
That's why.
Oh yeah, Nick Addison out. That puts Farini into the points.
That's an unbelievable turnaround for the Franklin team there.
You have to say, on the pace they've shown, that is very, very unexpected.
Yeah, but they won't shake a stick at it. Oh, here we go.
Absolutely not. And this is obviously what happened then. And I think
car broke down.
Yeah, something failed there, didn't it?
Just engine cut out. There's just no drive.
I don't know. I think something else went wrong because that looked very odd there for Nick Addison, who suddenly looked as though he had no steering. It just kind of
could have been
the car clattered into the wall.
Yeah. So if he's lost his steering there and he's got no ability to engage any drive, he could have just lost his hydraulics there.
Yeah. Very interesting. I'm sure we'll get confirmation of that after the race, but a huge disappointment there for Addison and Arrow then. Addison, who could have scored a point at his home race, but that unfortunately has come to an end with just a handful of laps to go then. As we go back to the battle for the lead, it's still Klaas, Ruiz and Powers, the three of them absolutely nose to tail. Adrian Simon on the back of this, and Maximilian Thunstrom's not a mile behind either.
This is going to get really tasty.
Simon's not finding his way past the past Kid and Zylander though, which I think might cost him.
Yeah, I mean they are on the fresher, softer tyres, so that does make sense. But Klaas is wide again. Klaas is wide again. Yeah, and Ruiz has a nose up the inside then as they head onto the start-finish straight. But again, not got the traction out of that final corner. He's going to spin his car, keeps going over the curb like that. That is not the right way through that turn.
I'll tell you what, this is going to give Powers a sniff, isn't it? This is where he did Zylander. Powers throws it up the inside, and then wheel to wheel. He's there. Nathaniel Powers is trying it. Can he go around the outside of Enrico Ruiz? He can. Ruiz tries to feed him into the wall nearly.
That was fantastic. Very hard racing there. Powers just had to get out of it. Oh, wow, that's about as close as it gets there, Bradley.
Absolutely brilliant racing then between two of the best drivers in the sport. Behind them, I think that's Thunstrom absolutely on the back of Adrian Simon now. These guys are losing so much time.
I'm really upset because it's too busy now, and I didn't get a chance to say my most fun fact of all about this circuit. So I'm just praying for a second where it dies down, but there's just non-stop action. This class is wide again in that final turn. It looks like he's working those front tyres too hard in the final sector. When he arrives at the final corner, he's got no grip.
I mean, to be fair, I'm not sure that's the worst thing for Klaas. Yes, he's very deep into that final corner, but it seems to give him the traction on the exit that Ruiz can't stick with him down the straight.
Yeah, it's a very similar strategy, I suppose, to the technique that Alonso used to use. Again, talking about a similar single-seater series. That was a little bit of alliteration there. But in 2006, he used to just sort of throw the car in and just chuck in a bunch of steering angle, and the car would just understeer it like a pig. But then that rear would finally grip up and come round. Oh, here we go. Hoskins up the inside of Alvarez here.
Yeah, there we go. So that is Will Hoskins making up to 14th. So now the car in front of the leaders is on a slower compound. So now we might see. I mean, look at how Perez has pulled away. It's definitely Alvarez that's been causing this delay, isn't it?
Yeah, the cork in the bottle, you might say.
Absolutely. I wonder if now then we will see Klaas van Snelheid, the race leader, make a move on these back markers. What he'll want is he'll want Hoskins to scamper a little bit further up the road so that Alvarez has not got that slipstream down the back straight, and I think that will aid Klaas van Snelheid to hopefully put a car between himself and Sergio Alvarez.
Yeah, I think that's exactly as you said. He needs every bit of help he can get to just make this move stick as fast as possible. Because the whole time, don't forget, we've got 3 laps left, and we're on that one of those laps. After this, we'll have lap 69, lap 70. So we're rapidly approaching the end of the race. And
we are indeed.
I feel if Van Snelheid can just put the car between himself and Ruiz.
Yeah, and he looks close. Is he going to go? No, he's not. He decides against it. But Ruiz isn't in position to make the overtake this time around.
No, but I've got to feel like, watching that, Klaas is looking really like he's out of tyres now.
It's certainly, you'd certainly say he's on the
Powers
on the edge of life. And Ruiz is wide, yeah.
Yeah, so this is just maybe a game of just, again, not necessarily pace, but just keeping it on the road and not making mistakes.
Absolutely, and that's given Klaas a sector's worth of breathing space. But Ruiz and Powers straight back with him, yeah. Behind them, Kid has passed Thierry Zylander then. And unfortunately for Adrian Simon, he's still not able to get in amongst them. Thunstrom still sat behind him. Vasquez is now only a second back. James Vasquez is nearly on the back of this fight. This is fantastic then.
They all fall off the road in front of him, and Vasquez takes the win.
I mean, it would fit some of his luck from last year.
Inside, that's going to be crucial.
It absolutely is. Win. Klaas van Snelheid puts a lap on Sergio Alvarez, who slots in between the two, and now Klaas van Snelheid then now has a car between himself and his nearest rival with 1 lap to go here at Adelaide.
Ruiz has got to pull something out of the bag, or else, I think Klaas is going to be, I think that might be it. Klaas has got to keep it together now, 1 more lap.
Ruiz wide again then at the final corner. I'm going to big him up because I think this has been exceptional from Klaas van Snelheid on a slower compound of tyre in very difficult conditions in amongst traffic. To hold on to this has been phenomenal.
He's definitely made the most of his circumstances in that traffic, absolutely. And as he rounds that turn 7 of Bartels, going on to Bartels Road there, he'll be thinking of celebrating after the race. You just turn left instead of right at turn 7. There's a lovely club there called Pole Position, and I'll leave it up to you guys to guess what happens there.
There we go. Van Snelheid now up the inside of Will Hoskins as well. Oh! It is! Ruiz has been unable to put a lap on Alvarez, and it's cost him as Nathaniel Powers, ever the opportunist, takes second place. Ruiz will be fuming. This is a race he probably should have won, but it's not going to be Ruiz, as into the last corner and out of it goes Klaas van Snelheid and makes it 2 out of 2 for Downton in 2022, and it's going to be Powers in second place. Enrique Ruiz has to settle for the final step on the podium then. It's Adrian Simon 4th ahead of Thunstrom. James Vasquez right in the mix as well, and Matteo Zatici wasn't a mile behind. That's how much time the leaders lost in the closing laps. But wow, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think Powers might be joining Klaas in those post-race celebrations there, but that was some move there from Nathaniel. He's been trying to look up the inside of Ruiz for a couple of laps now, but it never looked on at the Decathlon hairpin until that last lap.
Absolutely. I wonder if that's almost a case of, you know, Powers didn't want to show his hand. Oh, there's debris there. Something's gone on. But yeah, almost, you know, Powers didn't want to show his hand and just used the last available opportunity to throw a surprise at Ruiz. But he really did catch him unawares. It's a brilliant move from Powers to take second place there. As we say, probably a race Ruiz should have won. But it's Klaas van Snelheid then who makes his way back to the pits to start the celebrations and the podium. Here come the drivers out onto the podium then. In third place for Coca-Cola Porsche Team Mattershore, his first appearance on the rostrum of the season, Enrique Ruiz. In second place for the Lucas V-Prix team, his first podium with his new outfit, it's Nathaniel Powers. And onto the top step then, his former teammate for the Downton FB team and his first win of 2022, Klaas van Snelheid. And in his honour, the Dutch national anthem. So there we have it, a brilliant defence from Klaas van Snelheid and use of the back markers to hold on for the first win of the season. And Nathaniel Powers and Enrique Ruiz tried but couldn't get close, and in fact the Brit then nicking second place from the Brazilian at the end of the race. Adrian Simon and Maximilian Thunstrom rounding out the top five, while it was a brilliant drive from Danilo Farini to secure a point for Franklin then just outside of the points as well. We've got Finn Schneider and Felix Perez, some good drives throughout the field and some unfortunate hard luck stories. Hunter Ryan, Will Taylor especially, and Nick Addison late on from a points paying position, both westwards as well, unfortunately caught out in collisions that were not their fault. In the Drivers' Championship then, it means Klaas van Snelheid moves to the top of the table, 12 points ahead of his teammate Atici. Powers is up to third as Thunstrom slips to fifth. Quicho Giordano gains ground with his second points finish in two races, and Jean Matson with his first points of the season shoots up the table. Farini as well there, up into P12. Sergio Alvarez, Yukimi Takahashi, Kinnaman, Zylander and Barkley all losing ground, but none of them have scored any points yet this season, and that is more important in the Constructors' Championship, as there we see the other drivers towards the bottom of the standing. And in the Constructors' Championship, Downton retain their lead, 21 points over Lucas and 27 over Mattershore. The top three already pulling away. Ingram look clear in fourth already. The important is further down. Franklin are up to seventh with that point, while a couple of teams have moved around and Westwood have slipped into the bottom five as it stands. There are still a couple of races until pre-qualifying shuffles, but that's all from our race here today in Australia. So from both me and Harry, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time for round 3 from Sepang, Malaysia.